Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
Here we are, two of us.
Indeed we
Patreon's
are.
your thing. Check out the link in the description below. Absolutely loads of stuff on there. Full watch-alongs to things like Family Guy,
US Office.
US Office,
Got a bit of that on there.
We've even got The Last Dance, Michael Jordan documentaries, which is absolutely
superb series.
Yeah, we've got the whole series
on
on there.
In-Betweeners as well.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of stuff on there. All starts for a bargain price of just
£1.50 a month.
Yeah, get in there, check it out. The most insane CIA and FBI declassified documents ever.
Ah, right, okay.
Declassified documents, I mean...
So it's usually after like 50 years, is it? Something like that, that declassify these days?
I think it's more.
Was it more, is it? Ah, right, okay.
I think some of them are, you know, I guess it's sometimes to see out certain lifetimes, isn't it?
I would guess so, yeah,
You know,
definitely.
People don't find out, you know, you don't want to know.
I think it's the same worldwide, isn't it? I think we have the same thing, don't we? We have to serve, you know, Official Secrets Act, they have to stay under wraps for a certain amount of time.
But there's some things that go classified that shouldn't go classified, if you know what I mean. There should be certain documents that you say, no, you can't. That's public. Public should know about that.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, I suppose it's up to the government of the time to decide, isn't it? I'm guessing. So,
but these are the most insane CIA and FBI declassified documents ever. Let's get into it.
Come on.
Kidnapping of the Lunik. In the early 1960s, the race to space between the US and the Soviet Union was at its peak. Both countries wanted to be the first to explore outer space, and to have the upper hand, the CIA came up with a kidnapping scheme. The target, a Soviet satellite. The CIA led a highway robbery-like mission, where undercover agents convinced a truck driver carrying the satellite to take a break mid-route and give them access to the satellite. According to the declassified reports, the CIA agents borrowed the Soviet orbiter, took it apart to take pictures of every component, and put it back on the truck. This happened after the Soviets launched a multinational exhibit of their Lunik satellite and made it clear that they were ahead of the US in the race. Apparently, the Soviets had no idea that their truck driver was compromised and that the US had photographed the internals of their satellite. Unfortunately, the satellite was just a production item from which the engine and most of the electrical components had been removed. The examination only gave the CIA and NASA some measurements and structural characteristics, which weren't enough. Moreover, the Soviet Union also won the race on the 12th of April 1961, when they sent Yuri Gagarin to space, making this kidnapping mission a failure. Alan Shepard, the U.S. astronaut, would not go to space on the Freedom 7 capsule until the 5th of May, 1961. My Lai massacre.
It's weird how when you see things like that go on, how much sort of like what goes on that we don't know about.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it'd be a ridiculous amount of stuff, but
it's one of the things. It's a bit like a conspiracy theory. If you said that to me, you know what I'm like. I'd probably say, that never happened. They wouldn't have done that.
But at the same time, you wonder how many false things happen. So they may have sent that satellite knowing they had no components. It might not have even looked anything like what they were doing.
Even false information. Like knowing the United States could try and have a look at it, so they put something in there that's not actually right.
But right behind it would have been the original one.
Yeah, no, I get
the real one. They pulled over the fake one. Don't know. The real one's gone.
I mean, with these double agents, there's always disinformation going on. They're giving information out which they know isn't true, but they think that the opposition might be interested in. So
I was watching a program about drug dealing, and a lot of people saying the people that are carrying these other people on the flight that are carrying. But the one that's the obvious one gets pulled, takes all the attention from all the officers, while the other ones walk through.
Yeah, they think, well, we've got one. That'd be it. You don't usually get on these drug pulls. You don't normally get like 2, 3, 4 people. Normally it's like one person on their own.
And they use that one as like the decoy.
The decoy, a bit of a scapegoat. And they get banged up, and then the others are sort of like scot-free. I'll bet.
In March 1968, several American soldiers carried out an operation in the South Vietnamese hamlet of My Lai, leading to the deaths of at least 300 Vietnamese citizens. The victims included children, women, and elderly people, making it one of the most horrifying acts by the American military. For an entire year, the U.S. military covered up the massacre successfully. However, in November 1969, a journalist from the Associated Press investigated the operation, revealing the heart-wrenching truth about what the U.S. soldiers had done. The news reports by the AP journalist made headlines, leading to an official inquiry into the events. The inquiry was concluded in March 1970, and criminal charges were brought against 14 U.S. Army officers. All but one of the officers were deemed not guilty, according to the declassified documents. Soon afterward, the Pentagon established the Vietnam War Crimes Working Group, a task force aimed to investigate horrendous crimes such as the My Lai killings. Over 9,000 pages of documents were compiled by the task force, with each page detailing the numerous crimes committed by U.S. troops during the Vietnamese War. The U.S. troops had gang-raped Vietnamese women, mutilated their bodies, and even raped children. When these documents were declassified, the criminal acts committed by American soldiers were so horrendous that it became the largest reported civilian massacre of the 20th century. Iran Flight 655. Over the years, American agencies have led several other missions that ended up being completely useless, and Iran Flight 655 is one of the most gruesome mistakes the U.S. Navy made. In 1988, a U.S. warship shot down an Iranian civil aircraft in the Persian Gulf. The plane was en route to Dubai and had 290 people on board. The U.S. Navy incorrectly identified the plane as an Iranian fighter jet and launched a missile to take it down. The declassified documents exposed this grave mistake that led to the deaths of 290 innocent people. 8 years later, in 1996, the U.S. and Iranian governments settled for $61.8 million that would be used to compensate the families who lost their loved ones. However, the U.S. never apologized for this mistake. To make matters worse, the declassified documents detailing the Pentagon investigations showed that the naval officers who misidentified the aircraft and shot it down were not at fault. The Department of Defense also conducted an investigation, which revealed that the official report and the later accounts of the incident were entirely different statements. Some of the major discrepancies found included the route of the flight, which was originally said to be deviated from the standard route. It was later found that the route was never changed. Similarly, the original report stated that the U.S. warship was operating in international waters when the missile was launched. However, in reality, the warship was operating in Iranian territorial waters. Project Azorian.
That wasn't to do with it. That money, that 61 million or whatever it was, that wasn't the recent one where they handed over a prisoner, but they wouldn't release it because they didn't get paid for something. There was a debt outstanding of millions.
I remember it being something about
Just recently.
about a debt.
Talking in the last 5-6 years, maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember what the debt was about. Though. You'd have thought that would have been just paid off in one go because it's in like the 90s, wasn't it? So you don't thought they would wait that long.
But I'm sure there was something with an outstanding debt for something that the OD ran for something to do with something that had happened.
Maybe then.
And let us know if you can remember it. But I'm sure it was something to do with the release of somebody, and they said no because this debt hadn't been paid, so that someone had to pay the debt for the release of the prisoner or the hostage or whatever.
I vaguely remember that now, but that's a good shout. That actually, that could
I'm
be
not
the
sure
case,
if it is.
couldn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Project Azorian was another absurd operation by the CIA aimed at retrieving the remains of the Soviet Gulf-class ballistic missile submarine K-129. The submarine sunk in the North Pacific while on patrol, and according to reports, it rested 3 miles below the water on the seafloor. Both the CIA and the Department of Defense believed that if they could retrieve the submarine's remains, they could get their hands on codebooks, cryptographic gear, and much more. However, there was one major issue. The Soviets regularly guarded the area with patrol boats because they didn't want the Americans to snoop around the wreck. Despite that, the CIA was ordered by Henry Kissinger to work with Howard Hughes and set up a false flag deep seas mining mission. The mission was to make the Soviets believe that they were constructing a purpose-built ship called the USNS Hughes Glomar Explorer. On its face, it seemed like a deep sea mining vessel, but concealed inside it was a giant claw that was to be lowered down into the sea, grab the wreck, and get brought back to the surface. According to some reports, the CIA did grab the wreck. However, the claw malfunctioned on its way back, and a portion of the wrecked hull fell back down. What little was discovered and brought back to land has never been officially revealed to the public. A few sources claim that the front part of the hull was recovered, and with that, 2 intact nuclear torpedoes and the sonar dome were also in custody of the CIA. As for the nuclear codes and the cryptographic gear, they were lost with the part of the hull that fell due to the claw malfunction. The claw malfunctioning itself is a point of debate. Many argue that it was just a cover-up, and the Americans recovered everything. Operation Northwoods. During the 1960s, tensions between the U.S. government and Fidel Castro, the leader of Cuba, increased significantly. The Cold War led to the CIA to draw up several bizarre schemes to take down Castro, most of which were aimed at eliminating him. However, one of the most absurd covert operations was Operation Northwoods, an elaborate secret mission aimed at committing acts of violence deliberately against U.S. and Cuban civilians and blaming them on the Cuban government to justify a war against Cuba. When these documents were declassified in 1998, they revealed that the Joint Chiefs of Staff came up with several plans in 1962 and suggested committing acts of violence, such as fake terrorist attacks in U.S. cities, hijacking planes, and attacking ships full of Cuban immigrants en route to the U.S. The Kennedy administration rejected the plans, calling them foolish. The plans were risky and could have led to a full-scale war with the Soviet Union. Following this, JFK also removed Lemnitzer from the position of chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. However, he moved on to become the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO in January 1963. FLIR, gimbal, and go-fast UFOs. In 2017, the 3 classified videos of the U.S. Navy showing unidentified aircraft roaming around in impossible ways were leaked to the press. The videos, codenamed Flyer, Gimbal, and Go Fast, were captured by Navy pilots on different missions in 2004, 2014, and 2015. They showed a wingless aircraft moving at hypersonic speeds with no visible means of propulsion. The videos sparked controversy and debates across the nation, with many asking questions about what the government and CIA were hiding from the public.
It's a bit sort of like relative
Here
to
we
what's
go.
going on now.
It is a little bit,
Isn't it,
yeah, with all
with
the
the
drones
drones?
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, in 2019, Pentagon officials admitted that the videos were not fake and stated that they were part of a larger issue. The sightings of UFOs increased near the U.S. military bases, according to a report by The Times. Yet, the U.S. government officials, the CIA, and the Navy did not.
I wonder if it was a ploy that Mike to sell UFOs as Christmas presents.
I would guess so, yeah. I mean, there's a big spike in that in those particular years, I must admit. So,
Not talk about the UFOs or the videos further. The sightings, although seemingly real, still remain a mystery because nobody else has ever seen a UFO in real life. Nevertheless, the declassified documents indicate that the US might have more information than they have revealed. Acoustic Kitty. The 1967 report from the CIA regarding a spy cat is one of the craziest CIA operations of all time. A memo titled Views of Trained Cats detailed the CIA's intention of using cats as spies and releasing them into the Soviet embassy to wander around and secretly hear sensitive information. The plan was to surgically implant microphones and transmitters into cats and use them as walking bugs. Despite the obvious risks, the CIA officials found that cats could be trained to move short distances. Building on that, the agency released its first spy cat in a park, giving it orders to eavesdrop on 2 men on a bench. Unfortunately, the cat was quickly run over by a car, making the test an utter failure. Soon afterward, the CIA researchers concluded that the security factors and environmental factors were risky, and that using cats in an actual foreign situation would not be practical. Therefore, Operation Acoustic Kitty was dropped entirely after $20 million were spent on this useless experiment. If you want to discuss
Wow.
this video or suggest
yeah, I think we might have done that was part of a conspiracy theory video, that I think, wasn't it, with the cats? You know, with the...
Yeah.
With the
Well,
I don't know if you did it or if it's just me and Max that did it, but... yeah, they were
I kind of vaguely remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're declassified documents, so it's...
Yeah, oh,
whether
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, the amount of money that gets pumped into this kind of thing that we don't even know about.
Oh, it's absolutely
It's Joe
huge,
Public.
honestly.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Absolutely tens of millions.
Makes you know what goes on at the moment, especially what's going on in like Russia, Ukraine,
Yeah.
Israel, and all around that area, and the amount of money we sort of like hand over in weaponry and all kinds of just aid
Yeah.
goes into these places. You imagine what goes on with some of these people that are leading these countries.
Yeah.
I don't know
yeah,
what they're doing.
absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
see, you heard stories about people buying like I've heard. I don't know how true they are, but I've heard stories of the Ukrainian leader.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name now. Slipped my mind. He's bought property for like 500 million somewhere.
Really?
And I'm like,
really?
You know. And it's things like that you hear about, and you think I can believe it.
Yeah.
Whether I want to believe it or not is a different
Yeah,
thing.
it's not
But I'm
good
like,
luck, is it really?
I can see the corruption that goes on. It's just
Yeah.
high level.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
it's just
Yeah, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. You
Oh,
know,
big
you've
time.
got things like the UFOs and stuff like. You wonder if some of it. I don't know. The
What you
sort of
get
letting
now?
some of the information out, but they don't let all the information out. The certain information they do give you is, do they want to give you that anyway for a certain reason? You know.
Yeah,
I
and what you've got
don't
now
know.
though as well is you've got a lot of like amateur journalists, if you want.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Especially with access to certain media outlets, or
Yeah.
certain social media outlets, where they've got the stage to sort of like spurt whatever they want.
Yeah.
So a lot of there's a lot of truth coming out that we would never heard of.
I
There's
guess
also
so,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
bullshit.
That's it. It's just so
Trying to
difficult.
find out what's true and what's bullshit, sort of
You've
thing.
just
you
got
know?
to use your own sort of like knowledge in the end.
Yeah,
You're supposed to
yeah.
try and decipher what's right, what's wrong.
It's like I always say, stay in your lane, keep your head down,
Yeah.
get on with your life, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You should be okay.
You should.
Yeah, you shouldn't have any issues with that.
But like I say, there's so much stuff out there that we're not sure of, especially with the internet these days as well. There's absolutely all sorts
I mean,
out
the
there.
more and more you
But-
see about declassified documentation, spies, and CIA, and
Yeah.
MI6 and stuff like that we've got over here, and you watch some of the programs that are on. I know they're all over dramatized, but when you watch them, you think anyone could be next to you. You just don't know who you're talking
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Could be absolutely anyone. But yeah, you
Interesting.
just don't want to believe sometimes.
Interesting
but-
stuff. Anyway,
Yeah,
hope
excellent.
you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.